back to another episode of Firehouse Fan Club. I am your host, Lieutenant Jeremiah Dow, and with me are my co-hosts.
I am Sergeant Randolph Council, the aficionado.
And we have Chief Jerry Deberry here to share some really cool information about drones with you guys. Chief, go ahead and tell them about yourself.
So I'm Chief Deberry. I currently work in the 5th Battalion on A shift, the busiest fire battalion in the city, by the way. But I've been with the city of Atlanta right at 20 years, and I did some full-time at the city of Dalton before I came to Atlanta. So, and I kind of serve multiple dual roles right now in the city as far as special operations, and then running the battalion also.
Absolutely. I'm sure we're all used to dual roles in the fire service.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none.
That's it. But often better than a master of one, right?
That's right.
That's right.
The aficionado actually taught me that whole phrase.
Yeah, very good.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I know everybody knows a little bit about drones, and if you don't, I mean, they've really just been kind of a major wave now in technology. I've actually used them in my personal businesses, doing photography, videos. I know everybody's posting TikToks with them and things like that, but in trying to bring the fire service to meet the current technology, how are we incorporating drones in the fire service?
So the drone technology, it's been around, like you said, for a while. It really started out in the private sector, starting, with toys and things like that. And then you had, it got into people doing videography for real estate or weddings and things like that. And there was a need in public safety, obviously, for that
Absolutely.
too. Now the federal government's probably been using it a whole lot longer than we ever knew about.
Oh, I'm sure.
But in the last probably 5 to 8 years, it's really taken off in public safety. It started more on the law enforcement side, and then it's moved into the fire side, and we found that we have a lot of use for the drone technology in the fire service as well, as the police department.
Yeah, I mean, the possibilities are endless, I imagine.
Yeah, it is. And, it's funny, we go out on these incidents, or an incident will occur, and we'll think, well, that would have been a good opportunity to put the drone up.
Yeah.
Right.
And we come across these new events all the time. We can talk about a few of those today, but different events where I think, if we put those eyes in a spot where I normally can't see and get the drone up there, then that gives me an advantage that I didn't have before.
Absolutely. When you're training new officers, we often say, you try to get 3 sides as you're pulling up, get that last side if you can while you're doing your 360, but that's no longer just an if you can when you have drones, right?
That's right. It adds a whole new dimension, even like with your high-rise incidents downtown, to where before it would take 20, 30 minutes to get a roof report.
Right.
In a matter of a minute and a half, we can have a drone up on the top of a high-rise building and determine what the conditions are on the roof.
That's awesome.
And before we put the first personnel up there, and it gives us an advantage when we're planning out our strategy and tactics, because we know ahead of time what we're getting into.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's been a big advantage for us. They're quick, they're deployable, rapidly. We can get them up and out quick. The big thing right now is because it's a growing technology, we don't have a whole lot of them in the field. We're currently, there's 2 operators licensed through the fire department to fly for the fire department, myself and Lieutenant Golden.
Okay.
And I need to give Lieutenant Golden a plug because it's really his program.
Yeah.
Okay.
He kind of brought me on board, and I saw a need in it for special operations. And my plan is to get one on each shift of the squad and maybe at Company 14, because there is a technical rescue purpose for these also.
Absolutely.
But Lieutenant Golden is the head of this, and of course he works in our Homeland Security office.
Right.
Okay.
And so he heads up this program. So I need to make sure that I give him a plug and the kudos, because he's done all the work to get us to where we're at now.
Absolutely.
And I've basically been riding his coattails.
Definitely. Shouts out to Lieutenant Plug then for this program.
Absolutely. And he's currently out on vacation, so I'm here to represent both of us today.
I'm hating on him now.
So we can talk about whatever area of the drones you want to talk about, and talk about the technology and what we're using these drones for.
Well, I'd like to, and I'm sure the aficionado has some questions, but I'd definitely like to hear about some of the benefits you've noticed since we've launched the program, and a couple of times where these drones really came in handy.
Sure, absolutely. Well, so just recently, we'll talk about some of the more recent ones, and then we can go back and look at some of the other ones. We had a train derailment up off of Old Chattahoochee 2 weeks ago, right at shift change between A and B shift.
Yeah, I saw some.
And 7 or 8 tank cars derailed with the locomotive, and we had a fire involved with that. And so we were able to take the drone. I was actually leaving shift, and Lieutenant Golden was out of town in class, and they called me and asked me if I could come up there, and absolutely, I did. So we put the drone up really quick, and for a couple purposes. One is identify where the fire was at, what all was involved in fire, where was the fire going, where was it coming from, and then to identify the tank cars and what was in those tank cars, and any runoff or anything like that.
Right.
So with the drone technology that we have now, we have a variety of drones that we fly, and we can talk about that too, what those capabilities are. But all of our drones that we have currently have the infrared thermal imaging, FLIR, all that technology you've heard of.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And with the newest one we have, the Matrice, it's a M30T is what it's called. It's a Matrice. It has the ability to do split screen, so I can run in thermal imaging and at the same time run in normal camera mode,
Well, that's really
wider zoom. So in that particular instance, we put it up, identified that the fire was contained to the locomotive. We could tell where the fire was coming from underneath the locomotive. We quickly were able to identify the tank cars. We pulled the numbers off the tank cars with the drone, plugged that information into our Ask Rail app that we got from the railroad, and we're able to identify what was in those cars. And within a matter of 5 or 6 minutes, we had every car that was derailed.
Okay.
And then when the CSX representative got up there, we just compared notes, and we were almost spot on.
Really?
Unfortunately, all but one of those cars were empty. We had one car that had petrol oil in it, which was a very low hazard.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that is one quick use recently that we've used it for, where we were able to identify and to keep from putting our people in hazard's way.
Right.
We got the drone up there. I mean, worst case scenario, we have to buy a new drone, right?
Right,
If something happens to it.
Which is replaceable as opposed
It
to
is.
a
That's right.
firefighter.
That's right. And that's one of the areas with the drone technology that I think we're really going to benefit from, is being able to use that instead of putting a live person downrange or in harm's way,
Right.
that we can utilize that drone.
No, that's a huge life safety benefit to us and the public, because I mean that was a really quick primary search that you did with that drone.
Yeah, I mean, if there had been people laid out on the side of the railway or whatever, we would have been able to identify those really quick.
They go exactly where they are.
And matter of fact, we even were able to identify the runoff and where the storm drains were located and where we needed to worry about diketing and diverting.
You mean we can actually get some kudos from the EPA?
Well, we may be able to. I mean, they may think it's down the road, but
Yeah.
Because those guys don't like anybody.
yeah. Well, fortunately, knock on wood, we have a pretty good relationship with the EPA.
Well, that's
but,
awesome.
We try to make sure that we're doing good for them too.
Okay.
But that's just one incident. We had an incident just this week with a potential jumper call. The subject was on an upper floor and went back into the apartment and was threatening that he had a weapon, and he was throwing stuff out the window into the parking lot. So we actually utilized the drone. We flew the drone up to his windows and doors and watched his movements inside the apartment.
Really?
And were able to provide his location to APD, so when they went into the apartment, they knew exactly where to go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so we kind of guided them with making access and not having to search.
Yeah.
We were able to get to it pretty quick. So that was an incident this week. Multiple fire incidents. A fire that happened a while back, the Buckhead Saloon fire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Lieutenant Golden happened to be up in that area early on in the fire, and he put the drone up, and we were able to tell where the pockets of fire were inside the building from being above with thermal imaging. And so it helps commanding officers to direct crews to get them to the location and see the fire faster and identify if that fire spread or we have multiple fires and things like that.
And we all thank you for that, because not only is the Buckhead Saloon near and dear to my heart, but I'd cry if the piece of cake caught on fire.
That's the more important.
That's right. So Chief, let me ask you this question. Okay, so being that we are actually bringing this new technology to the fire department, and you're seeing it firsthand by putting out the drones and doing what it is, and you're seeing the effectiveness that you are and why putting this piece together. Have you heard or seen or talked to any other fire departments that are using this technology and hearing some good stories about some of the use and what they're getting out of it?
So yeah, we're again, the law enforcement's ahead of us in this particular area. I have done training, and Lieutenant Golden has done training with several of our local metro departments. We, matter of fact, just did a flying class 3 weeks ago. We had other fire departments involved, predominantly still law enforcement. The fire departments are still fairly in our infant stage
Right.
of this development, but there are other fire departments using it, and we are starting to communicate more. And we're sharing our stories about what we're using this technology for, what types of drones are working, what are more efficient,
Right.
like the Matrice that I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The camera capabilities on that drone are just unbelievable. It has like 200 times digital zoom. I mean, I can
Wow.
read the scratches in the paint on
Wow.
something that's
Really?
200 or 300 yards away.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, we're sharing that information that we're learning, and we are ahead of the curve as far as some of the fire departments locally. Some of the
Nice.
police departments are more advanced than we are.
See,
And
more ways than one. We're industry leaders again,
That's
guys.
right.
I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, in that area we are. And, and that really that wouldn't be possible without the support of our administration.
Absolutely.
We initially, and we can talk a little bit about UASI, but UASI has a drone work group, and initially we were working on getting funding, and they did buy, I think, 2 drones maybe for us.
Nice.
And then the fire department has recognized the significance and importance of having these.
Really?
And so the fire department has stepped up and started supporting this as well,
That's
and
right.
have bought our most recent drones. And as recent as just a couple weeks ago, the training center, Captain Oding at the training center has purchased a couple of drones for the training center to start utilizing in their operations and to look for in the future to training new operators.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because
And
there's
I
a
was-
license that come along with that.
I was actually about to ask you, have we made steps towards training more operators and just having more people available?
We have. There's a couple different ways you can do it. The Part 107 is what everybody hears, and it's basically an FAA licensing program
Right.
for unmanned aircraft.
Right.
And it is a difficult test. We have we have sent people to 2 different classes. The first class, we did not have a lot of success rate, but the reality was we didn't really know what to expect. Right?
Yeah.
It was the very
Yeah.
first time
Right.
these guys were the guinea pigs for this program.
Right.
So we didn't have a success rate like we wanted. We had another class last year that was brought to us through UASI, it was through grant,
Okay.
from some guys out of the Missouri USAR Task Force 1. They're dedicated drone pilots. They travel all over the country. And they came in and did a license class, and we had a much better success rate. So
Awesome.
now we're trying to get more licensed pilots. So you either have to be a licensed pilot to fly commercially or work under what's called a COA, or a certificate of authority of someone in your agency that has a license.
Okay.
From our executive staff wants our pilots to be licensed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good thing. It's a safety thing.
Yeah.
I would be weary about giving somebody permission to go fly a drone under my license
Right.
if I don't know what their capabilities are.
Absolutely.
So those are the licensing requirements. You have to renew every 2 years with that, and keep that stuff active in order to fly.
Okay.
That's great. One of the things I was thinking about, you just mentioned it a little minute ago about the cost, or who was helping to assist paying for that. Obviously, with the department having these budget situations and things of that nature, I was curious on the funding of us being able to obtain drones, and it sounds like we're ahead of the game, or we have some buy-in for it already.
Absolutely. So again, UASI, the Urban Area Security Initiatives, is a metro-wide federal grant program. It initially started primarily focused in law enforcement, but there was a tool there for the fire service. And so the drone, we have work groups. There's several different, you have committees and work groups, and they developed a drone work group. We also have a hazmat work group. We have a technical rescue work group. And through that work group, we started getting some of the technology, the drone technology initially into training. And then the fire department recognized the value in that, and it stepped up to the plate and has started supplementing that.
Sweet.
And the plan is, with talking with the administration, is that we want to continue to move that forward. And eventually, the hope is that we can get a dedicated drone program on all 3 shifts, so where we always have somebody on duty.
Absolutely.
Because right now we're limited with that, and same with APD. You know, I talked to Investigator Cunningham this morning with APD, and he heads up their drone program. And for a while, Cunningham was the only one that flew for APD, and he only worked during the day.
Okay.
But now, this morning, I talked to him, and they've got 5 operators, and are currently training their 6th operator. So they're starting to spread their work out too, and they started in 2019.
Okay.
So you see how long it took just to get to
Right.
where they've got more operators.
Absolutely.
And we're in that growth stage right now too. So the long-term plan is for us to cover all 3 shifts with that.
Speaking of the drones, one of the things I was thinking about, because I was looking online at some of the drones at one particular point, I was like, how is that going to work as it relates to, I've seen some of the drones and how they have the water attached to it.
Right.
And I was like, it's hard for us to hold the nozzles and things of that nature at a certain pressure. And I'm thinking, how are we going to go about doing that,
Right.
It just seemed real cool to me that, we were able to, or I saw the videos that I was seeing and how they had the water attached to these particular drones. Is this something that we'll also be doing as well?
So you're talking about carrying a payload
Yes,
sir.
of a variety of types.
Right.
So the drones we have now, we've just moved into an area where we're starting to purchase drones with the capabilities of carrying payloads.
Gotcha. Okay.
Obviously those drones are more expensive. They have different ratings on them because they're designed to carry a payload.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, what we can do currently, we have the capabilities. We have not done it yet, but we are moving in that direction. Is utilize hazmat monitors on the drones, so we can put a drone down range with a monitor
That would be
and start
incredible.
sending feedback.
That's right.
So we can establish again. We're putting a drone in the way instead of putting a person in the way.
Right.
And then we can start establishing those hot zones
That's
with
right.
those monitor readings and column heights, right? The vertical depth
Gotcha.
of a product
That'd be
and
great,
what's spread. And so that will probably be the first area where we move into carrying payloads. I don't know that we'll get to a point to where we're utilizing,
Right.
Yeah, for
water.
nozzles.
Maybe
Right,
not in
right.
my career
Right,
anyway.
right.
Hopefully you'll see it by the end of yours. But that capability is definitely there.
That's maybe we should reach out to Amazon and get some of their used products. You hear that, Amazon? Hit us up. We need some payload drones.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
If they can deliver packages, they can deliver water.
That's right. Absolutely.
For
Absolutely.
sure. For sure.
So, do you think, because I know a question that may arise from that topic we just discussed, do you see drones that can carry payloads replacing firefighters at any point?
Well, like LA, they got some robots and things like that they use. All technology moves so fast, right?
Right.
Things that I'm looking at today, just 10 years ago, I would have never have imagined. Let's take AI, for instance.
Right.
Look how rapidly AI is developing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Almost
I
scary.
say that today, and next week, there may be technology out there that's replacing us.
Right.
That's right.
I want to say that there will always be firefighters around, because we've got certain skill sets
That's right.
that a robot can't do.
Absolutely.
That's
But
right.
that could change. I don't know. That's an interesting topic.
Yeah. I mean, well, and then there's always the human aspect. They even touched on it in the film I, Robot, where the thing didn't make the proper decision on who to save, and
Right.
it was going off probability. And yeah, so I would like to think that having humans in place would always matter, but I'm sure we all are getting ready for the battle with Skynet now that AI is taking the world by storm.
That's right. Right.
Yeah, that's a little scary to think about.
That's right.
But yeah, it's great technology.
Yeah.
A little bit about the drones themselves. Again, we run 2 different drones right now. We run what's the DJI Mavic Enterprise. It's a commercial drone.
Yeah.
It's not just one that anybody can just go to Best
No.
Buy and buy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually the one that I used in the.
And
It's on the table.
Huh?
It's on the
oh
table.
yeah, you got one here on the table. That's right.
Yeah.
So the Enterprise series, you can get those with thermal imaging capabilities. Those are solid drones. This is what we started out using, and we're still using. I still run it as a backup drone, and it's a very rapidly deployed drone.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, within a matter of 30 seconds, I can have that one in the air.
Really?
So for doing recon, it's a great drone. I can get it out while I'm moving down the road, have it ready to go. As soon as we stop, we can put it in the air. The other drone that we're running is that DJI Matrice. It's an M30T. Both of those drones have thermal imaging capabilities on them. Like I said, that Matrice has got the camera capabilities on it, the ability to zoom, the thermal imaging, the multiple versions of thermal imaging that are infrared that it'll look at based on the time of day, the type of situation you're looking at. You can go from a white-black to a black-white to a rainbow. You can change all that in there. And you can do that with the Enterprise too.
Right.
It's just the technology is so much better.
Yeah.
So speaking of that technology, some of the information that I was looking at, it says that they are also able to, and I think you kind of leading to that or whatever, it says that they also are able to, tell you about the fire behavior that's actually going on inside, the temperature and even smoke patterns.
So the infrared will read some thermal energy.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And it's not like a thermal imaging camera per
Right.
se. It's
Right.
not that detailed where we see the vapors and everything moving.
Right, right.
But there is capabilities to read hazmat clouds. If something's producing a cloud, you can get variations to determine a cloud and cloud movement.
Really?
You can see heat vapors exiting a building. Like if it's let's say a fire's about to light off out of a door
That's
window,
right.
you can utilize the infrared on there
Wow,
to determine
that's amazing. That's amazing.
where that's coming from. So, and again, we're continuing to discover new times and uses for these drones. I have flown a few missions with Atlanta Police at after hours.
Really?
Can't really discuss in detail,
Right.
but we've assisted APD on several sensitive missions that they were on,
absolutely.
and has been very successful with that too.
Oh, that's great.
Missing persons,
Uh-huh.
we you do missing person searches with that. Being able to use the thermal, especially at night, you can get out in areas. Chattahoochee Swiftwater calls when we need to rapidly identify somebody that may be stranded or lost on the Chattahoochee.
Okay.
Put the drone up, fly it. We can pick up heat signatures, just like you would with thermal imager, and start sending our units to those closest areas. So to save time, right?
Yeah,
To
because
save
that's
time.
one
what
of
it's
the
all
most
about.
difficult search and rescues we have is
Yeah.
in rivers and streams and things like that.
That's right. That's right.
Those have a huge strain on trying to find where that body
But it's
is.
just
where that
resource
person is.
intensive.
Yeah.
Right. Because you got to get a boat in the water, and then if you put the boat in the wrong place or you go the wrong place, and there's a reflex time to get back. So if we can identify the location of where somebody may be with the drone, we can send them directly to that area.
Absolutely.
And if it's not them, then it's okay. We continue to search, right? I mean, we continue to fly the drone,
Yeah.
and we're looking for other heat signatures too.
Right.
So.
This is all good. I mean, all wonderful news in the direction that the fire department or fire departments are going in. We actually got
Chief,
some.
I was wanting to ask you, there's pros and cons to everything that
Sure.
we do, and I just want to know, have you seen any drawbacks or anything that, like people like myself who are interested in becoming operators might need to look out for?
So the big thing, well, of course, drones are expensive. I mean, there's a cost associated, right?
Right.
And sometimes detrimental things happen to drones; they have to be replaced.
That's right.
So you either have to pay for insurance or you have to pay to replace the drone. So there's costs associated.
That's right.
Service and maintenance.
I didn't think
Replacing
about that.
batteries,
Yeah.
replacing props. You crash one or hit a wall and damage one. So there's that.
Firemen don't hit walls.
Probably time investment would be a big one. That's a drawback. To be proficient, you've got to get flying time in.
Yeah.
And you've got to practice and really to hone, especially when you're flying missions, because missions have specific strategies involved with how you fly the drone. And it's more complicated than just flying it up in the air and
That's
flying it
right.
around, right?
That's
Because we're dealing with specific tasks that we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So investing the time. So if you don't have time to invest in flying these things, then it may be detrimental to you.
Absolutely.
And the licensing requirements and the updates that are required for that. And that's just, again, it's just something, if you're going to take that on It just comes with it.
That's right.
It's part of what you got to do to maintain that commercial
Yeah,
license.
And that's just part of the job, right?
That's right.
This
It's
whole-
just like, it's no different than your
Yeah.
firefighter recertification or
Yeah, that's
AFRD.
right.
constantly training, constantly improving,
That's right.
constantly maintaining.
That's right. And the technology is changing so fast. You learn one, something else new comes out, and you got to learn it too.
Right.
Me too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I mean that pretty much sums that up. I was wondering, have you guys noticed any benefit to the tracking feature on some of these missions you've flown?
So, again, as far as tracking, my use has been limited to the Atlanta police side. I've done a couple of fugitive searches and things like that,
Okay.
and that's about all I can talk about that.
Yeah,
part.
yeah,
That's right.
absolutely.
Because most of those are active cases still.
G14
That's right. That's right. 14 classified.
That's right.
And normally that would be something that Atlanta police would fly, but this happened to be after-hour stuff.
Yeah,
And it was before they had grown their program, so they were limited on their operators. And it really was about timing. I happened to be on duty when it was happening, and I had a relationship with one of the captains at APD that knew that I flew,
Mhm.
and he had contacted me. So,
Okay, that's awesome.
so yeah, as far as the searches are concerned, but if you got somebody that's got dementia
Mm-hmm.
or Alzheimer's or something like that, and
Yeah.
typically people like that, there's profiles that fit on where they go and how they move, and
Mhm.
they've probably done it before, and so you can take those profiles that are
Mhm.
developed and you can cross that with the drone technology,
Yeah,
and you can go right to those areas initially where they most likely would
Right.
be at.
Yeah, it's funny you say
and
that.
we can
because-
reduce that time tremendously.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
just talking about that with Todd, Chief Todd Edwards, and he was talking about some of these places with these
yeah, people with Down syndrome,
Down syndrome,
autism, special
things
needs,
of that.
Yeah,
and how they're very particular and they
Yeah.
have habits and
Yes.
routines, things that they come
one of the big things with autism is most of your autistic are found in the house.
Mhm.
Right.
They don't actually ever leave the house, so
Right.
they have that place where they feel safe and they go.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Dementia patients, for example,
Mhm.
they will have the same pattern. If they go get lost in the woods
Mhm.
and they do it over and over, they're normally going to the same place.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
And so I can take that drone, go
That's
to
right.
that known place,
Mhm.
and really quick determine whether they're there or not. And then I can
Right.
start narrowing that scope of that search down.
That's awesome.
That is.
Yeah.
That really is. That really is.
Well, Chief, it sounds like you've been having a lot of fun with these drones. Any personal interests that you'd like to share with us?
No, just that again. Know that this technology is out there. If you need it, call for it. We're not at a point yet where we have all 3 shifts covered. A shift is currently covered, and Homeland Security has it. And sometimes after hours, we can come in if it was something that there was a major need where we needed to come in.
Yeah.
But we continue to grow the program, and again, like I said earlier, the plan is to get eventually to where we've got all 3 shifts covered.
Oh yeah.
And so if there's a need, then we're more than happy. And if you're not sure, call.
Mhm.
And if we can fly, we'll let you know if we can be a benefit to you. And if not, we'll just tell you, that there may be other options out there.
Yeah.
Just briefly, before we get ready to close out here, obviously, everybody, we're talking about this new technology. What are you hearing? Are you hearing around the, our department? Is it a lot of the firefighters that are on now? How are they receiving the information that we might be or having this new technology?
Sure. So, now that we're getting out there more,
Mhm.
I mean, just like this podcast is a great way to get the information out there.
Mhm.
They're seeing us out flying these
Mhm.
missions.
Mhm.
And then people are starting to ask questions.
Yeah.
And, we do have other licensed pilots in the fire department that are not involved, that we can pull in and expand this project. But again, it's like anything else when you're developing a new program, it's slow go.
Yeah.
So we will get there. We will
Yeah.
get there. It's just taking time.
Yeah, we'll get there, right, Chief?
That's right.
So I'm actually really excited about the training aspect of the drone program because I was just thinking about how much you can monitor, more than just having those instructors looking over. You can use the drone to see pretty much everything. Do you have any insight on how practices we can use to incorporate drones in training? Since we did mention that that's on the horizon.
So, yeah, I mean, as far as the technology, the one thing that we're wanting to do as we move forward is put monitors in the battalion cars. Now,
Mhm.
this is not necessarily a training thing, but there is a training component. when a pilot is flying and they're looking at their small screen, you're limited to what's in that screen.
That's right.
But when I put that live feed to a TV monitor like
Mhm.
this one,
That's right.
then you're able to pick up details and things that I might miss that you can
Right.
pick up. So there's a training component involved in that.
Yeah.
Right.
And where training can utilize that type of technology to monitor a training scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if they're doing large area searches,
That's right.
we have drones that can fly indoors, in the big warehouses.
Yeah.
Police use them to clear rooms with
Yeah.
and things like that.
That's right.
So there's some training stuff, involved with that side too, where you can incorporate that with training.
Man, that's gonna be
That's
awesome.
awesome.
That's
That's
gonna be awesome. And everybody knows recruits are our future, so.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's right. That's right. Well, definitely we like to love, or we love to leave the department better than what we found it. It sounds
right.
like that's the direction we're going in. Chief, we really appreciate you coming down. Thank you so much for talking about this new technology and some of the things that we are bringing forward to the department. Don, do you have anything else?
No, Chief, you've been awesome and a lot of good information. I'm super excited. I mean, just the fact that we've gone beyond TikTok to the fire service and drones, it's got me giddy.
That's right. That's right.
No, well, thanks for having me. And of course, I love to talk about this. And, anytime I'd love to come back.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
absolutely.
Thank you so much, everybody. Hey, guys, keep tuning in. Keep coming to the Fire Podcast we have here. This is the aficionado, Sergeant Randolph Council.
Peace. Let's think of that. What's this?